Hi everybody, and welcome to the Linguista online lesson. In this lesson, you're going to learn about the Danish alphabet and how to pronounce Danish. Now, don't worry, I know that Danish has a reputation of being very difficult to pronounce, but it's not as hard as you think. And in this video lesson, I'm going to give you some useful rules on how to pronounce Danish. But first, let's take a look at the Danish alphabet.
Alfabetet, or in English, the alphabet. So, here is the Danish alphabet. Looks familiar, except for the last three letters. The Danish letters A, Ø, and O. But don't worry, I'll get more into detail with these letters. For now, let's go through each letter and hear what it's called and learn a word that begins with the letter. Alfabetet. A. En avis. B. En bil. C. En cykel. D. En dreng. E. En elastik. F. En fod. G. Et glas. H. En hånd. I. En is. J. En jakke. K. En kop. L. En lampe. M. En mus. N. En nøgle. O. Olie. P. En pige. Q. En quiz. R. Regn. S. En sol. T. En tallerken. U. Et ur. V. Vand. W. Vaders. X. En xylofon. Y. Ymer. Z. En zebra. Æ. Et æble. Ø. En økse. Å. En ål. Dialog. Okay, now let's learn some dialogues that could be useful when talking about the alphabet. Hvad hedder du? Jeg hedder Heidi. So what is your name? My name is Heidi. Hvad hedder du? Til efternavn. Mariegård. So what is your last name? Mariegård. Now, maybe when I said Mariegård, you figured, that was difficult to understand, and you want to ask me to repeat it. In Danish, you would say, Vil du gentage det? Yeah. So, can you repeat that? Ja, Mariegård. Yes, Mariegård. Vil du gentage det is, can you repeat that? Now, maybe this still isn't enough and you need me to spell out the word. To ask for this, you say, hvordan staver du det? M-A-R-I-E-G-A-A-R-D. So, hvordan staver du det is, how do you spell that? And of course you want to say thank you. So, tak. And if you want to say you're welcome, det var så lidt. Det var så lidt. You're welcome. Try to repeat one more time. Hvad hedder du? Jeg hedder Heidi. Hvad hedder du til efternavn? Mariegård. Vil du gentage det? Ja, Mariegård. Hvordan staver du det? M-A-R-I-E-G-A-A-R-D. Tak. Det var så lidt. Super. Now, øv dig. Practice. Answer the questions with your own information. So I will ask you and you have to answer for yourself. Hvad hedder du? Hvad hedder du? Hvad hedder du til efternavn? Hvad hedder du til efternavn? Hvordan staver du det? Awesome! Now here is another dialogue. So try to pay attention and I'll explain what it means. Hvad hedder car på dansk? This question means, what is car called in Danish? Det hedder bil. And we already know car is called bil. Vil du gentage det? What was the meaning of that? Right. Can you repeat that? Bil. Car. Hvordan staver du det? So again, we ask for the spelling. B-I-L. Now, maybe it's not enough for us to hear it or to have it spelled. So you could ask someone to write it down. To do that, you would say, vil du skrive det? Vil du skrive det? Ja, selvfølgelig. Yes, of course. Selvfølgelig is of course. Tak. Det var så lidt. You're welcome. Let's try to repeat one more time. Hvad hedder car på dansk? Det hedder bil. Vil du gentage det? Bil. Hvordan staver du det? B-I-L. Vil du skrive det? Ja, selvfølgelig. Tak. Det var så lidt. Øv dig. Practice. Try to answer these questions. Hvad hedder newspaper på dansk? Hvad hedder newspaper på dansk? Hvordan staver du det? Hvordan staver du det? Hvad hedder boy på dansk? Hvad hedder boy på dansk? Hvordan staver du det? Hvad hedder key på dansk? Hvad hedder key på dansk? Hvordan staver du det? Hvad hedder plate på dansk? Hvad hedder plate på dansk? Hvordan staver du det? Okay, so try to answer these questions and try to spell the words.
Okay, so now we know what the letters are called, and now we need to learn how to pronounce them in different combinations. Now, one of the things that is the most annoying and frustrating thing about Danish is that we tend to write a whole bunch of letters and then we only pronounce maybe 2 or 3 of them. So let's try to take a look at how the letters are pronounced, and let's jump right in.
Udtale, or in English, pronunciation. Let's start with the Danish vowels, or vokaler. Vokaler. So, in Danish, we have 9 vowels. A, E, I, O, U, Y, Æ, Ø, Å. So you will see the Danish vowels here, Æ, Ø, and Å. And don't worry, I'm gonna go into more detail on how to pronounce these. Let's start with A. A, like in the English, cat. So this is the most common way to pronounce the vowel, so use it whenever you're in doubt. The second sound is A. It's a dark A, like in the English father. It's pronounced like this when it's next to an R or in front of an F, P, K, or M. So A and A. An example of this could be the name of our lovely country, Denmark. Here you have A and A because the second A comes before an R. So Denmark. Exception is the double A. The double A is pronounced like the Danish vowel Å. So, for example, the lovely city you're in is not called Aarhus, it's Aarhus. And another Danish city with a double A is Aalborg. These are old names for cities, and this is why we write them with a double A. You won't find this in any other contemporary Danish words. Next vowel is E. Now, E also has different pronunciations. Let's start with the first one. E. Like in the English, in. This sound is whenever it's followed by one consonant. Example would be een, one. Then we also have the sound e, like the English bed. This comes when it's followed by two consonants. An example of this could be frikadelle. So frikadelle, a meatball. So we have e and e. Then we also have e, like the English the, when it's the last letter in a word. Example, spise. So this sound comes with the final e. spise means to eat. A can also be pronounced as a, like the English a. This comes when it appears before r in the end of a word. Examples could be taler. This is the present form of to speak. E can also be pronounced as I when it appears before a G. Example, jeg leg. Then we have the vowel E. E is pronounced like in the English need. So E. Example, vin, wine. Then there's also E, like in English in, if the I is followed by two consonants. Example, lit. Lit is a little. So E and E. Then there is O. O is not like any English sound, but like French and German and Spanish, O. Example, to, two. O can also be pronounced as O when it's followed by two consonants. Example, komma, to come from or to arrive. O and O. Then we have the letter U. U is pronounced like in cool or pool, the German U and the French U. An example would be du, you. U is pronounced whenever it's followed by two consonants. So for example, we say here lukke. Lukke is to close. So U and O. U. This sound does not exist in English. It's like the French U in lune or the German Ü. An example would be lys, light. How to say it? What you need to do is to keep a steady E sound and then round your lips without changing the position of your teeth or tongue. So, EU. U is pronounced Ö when followed by two consonants. Example, lykke. Lykke is happiness. So, Ö and Ö. Then we have the vowel E. E sounds like the E of the English best. So best. This is the sound you're going for. Example would be æble, an apple. Ø does not exist in English. It's like the French Ö or the German Ö. An example could be øl, beer. How to say it? You need to make a steady e sound like in the English word well. So where, and then you round your lips without changing the position of your teeth or your tongue. Then you should get something similar to this sound. It's one of the most dreaded sounds of Danish, the Danish Ø. So if you can master this, you've truly mastered Danish. Finally, we have the vowel O. O, like English oh. An example with O could be låne, to borrow. O can also be pronounced aw, like the English awesome, when it's followed by two consonants. Example, hon, hon. Hon is hand. So, to give you an overview, here we have what we in Danish call vokaltrappen, the vowel staircase. So you see, A doesn't really change based on if it has one or two consonants, but the other vowels do. If you take the first staircase, you have the vowel E on top. Now, E is pronounced exactly like this when it is followed by one consonant. But if you put two consonants after E, it takes one step down the ladder to E. Then we have A, sounds like this with one consonant. But if it has two consonants, it takes a step down the staircase and gets the sound A. This is identical to the other staircases. So if we have the vowel Y, it's pronounced just like that with one consonant. But if it has two consonants, it takes one step down the staircase and gets the sound Ö instead. Same for the letter U, that becomes O with two consonants, and O becomes O with two consonants after this vowel. So this is the principle of this vowel staircase. So try to memorize this picture in order to know how to pronounce the vowels, depending on whether they have one consonant following them or two consonants. Let's take an example. Example. If we have this word hele, we see we have the E with one consonant. So hele. If we get two consonants, here we have two L's. So this takes a step down the staircase and becomes E. So helle, hele, helle. Lie, and one step down the staircase, ligge, lie og ligge.
Okay, so now you should have an overview of how to pronounce the different vowels in Danish. So let's move on to the consonants. Now, there are so many rules for how to pronounce the consonants, and I don't want you to get overwhelmed, so I'm just going to introduce you to a few of these rules that you can use for pronouncing Danish. Let's move on.
Now, let's look at consonants. Consonants. Now, some of the consonants are pronounced like in English. This goes for B, C, K, L, M, N, P, Q, T, W, X, and C. Note, however, that you will seldom find C, Q, W, X, or C in Danish words. Only the ones which have been imported from other languages. So don't worry too much about how to pronounce these. Let's start with the consonant D. D plus a vowel equals what we call a hard D. An example could be du, you, and Denmark, Denmark. So it gets this D sound whenever it's in front of a vowel. However, if we have a vowel in front of a D, we get what we call a soft D. This is the same sound as the in English, just with a little less air. An example could be ud, out, hilla is called, and bell, which is shower. So maybe you think, but you're just saying an L sound when you say this, but you really don't. Now, if you have a vowel and a D, you need to make the soft D. Now, one way you can find the soft D is to try to say an L with a finger in your mouth. Your tongue will try to go to the top of your mouth, but the finger will prevent that from happening. And where your tongue ends up being is exactly where it needs to be, at the bottom of the mouth. So it may seem a little strange and silly at first, but this is a Danish sound that you need to master in order to do a correct pronunciation. So ud and hilla and bell. Try to say it in an exaggerated way with your tongue hanging out of your mouth. Then you'll get closer and closer to what you're aiming at. Finally, we have N, L, and R plus a D. This equals a silent D, which means D is never pronounced after these consonants. An example could be man, a man, kold, cold, or gård, which is a farm. Also, D plus T equals a silent D. An example of this is godt, which means good. Here we don't hear the D. If. So A and F sounds like a W sound for the F. Example would be aftale. Aftale is an appointment. Then we have the G. G in the beginning of a word is what we call a hard G, so a G sound. Example is gammel, which is old, and godt, which was good. A, E, I, E, and Ø plus a G equals J. Example, kage, læge, and løg. So you get this Y sound after these vowels. O, U, and Ö plus a G creates a W sound, this W sound. Example would be koge, to boil, and låge, which is a gate. N plus a G creates this nasal sound where only half the G is pronounced. N. An example is dreng, boy, lang, which is long, and engelsk, English. So the NG sound is kind of similar to that of English in the word long. So same NG sound that you have to make in Danish. Then we have the letter H. H plus a consonant equals a silent H. Stumt H. And R. R plus a vowel sounds like the beginning of a growl. R. So pronounced in the throat like a German or French R. Example is fra. So you get this r sound. Fra. If we have a vowel plus an R, the vowel sound prolongs the vowel, almost like an A sound. Example, Denmark. So the R creates a special sound for the vowel and creates kind of a diphthong. So A, Denmark. Note that if a word ends in ER, the ER is pronounced A. Then we have a J. J is a half vowel and is pronounced as an English Y sound when it's the first letter. An example is ja, I, and in imported French words, it is pronounced as a sh. Example would be jaloux, jealous. And in imported English words, the J is pronounced as a j sound. Example Could be jazz, job, and juice. Then we have V. V plus a vowel equals a hard V. Example, værelse, a room. Vowel plus a V equals a UW sound. So example would be liv, which is life, or sove, which is to sleep.
Okay, so that's it for today's lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. Tak for nu, og vi ses!